This episode may contain content of a graphic nature, including descriptions of physical and sexual violence against adults, children, and animals. Listener discretion is advised. Hi everyone, I'm Talia.
And I'm Tanya.
And together we are Crimes and Consequences, a true crime podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Crimes and Consequences. I'm Tanya.
I'm Talia.
And we are going to get into a crazy story today. It's an older one. But before we get into it, I just want to remind everyone to hit the subscribe or follow or like on whatever app. If you're watching us on YouTube on True Crime Daily, hit the like. And I think this story, I'm just giving fair warning to everybody, is a bit graphic. And I don't know if you're familiar with the serial killer, or was he serial killer? Ed Gein?
You're going to tell us.
Well, it's not about him.
Oh.
This guy was Ed Gein before Ed
Gein.
Yes.
Okay.
So his name is Karl Denke.
Okay. I have no idea.
I know
who
this is a wild story. So.
Okay. So, okay.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. 4 days before Christmas in 1924, a young man named Vincens Olivier came stumbling out of an apartment where a man named Karl Denke lived. Karl was well known in the community as someone who would help travelers with a place to stay as they were passing through Munsterburg, and this is Germany.
Okay. Oh, it's a German case.
Yes, it's a German case.
Nice.
So, when people were passing through, Karl would offer them a place to stay. Karl was single and, didn't have any family living with him. So
it's like an Airbnb.
Yeah, it was like an Airbnb for Airbnbs.
Okay.
So Vincens was bleeding terribly from his head, and the wound was clearly caused by being hit in the head with a hatchet.
A hatchet?
A hatchet. Like, I guess you could just tell. Vincent was weak because he was losing a lot of blood, but he was screaming as loud as he could. Like, he just wanted help. He's like, help, help.
Yeah, right. Of course.
Karl's upstairs neighbor, his name was Gabriel. He was a cab driver by trade. He heard this screaming and he was really alarmed because he's like, what the hell's going on, right?
Right.
You don't normally...
Help.
Right.
Okay.
You don't normally hear people screaming for help, like
I don't.
blood curdling.
I don't.
Me either. So Gabriel ran downstairs to see what all the commotion was. And as he approached, Vincens, who was covered in blood by this point, the man collapsed into Gabriel's arms. While weak and still bleeding, Vincens went on and on about the old man on the first floor, Karl. He told Gabriel that Karl tried to kill him with an axe. But Gabriel didn't quite believe this.
What? Even though he's got that?
Yeah, but he's well known in this community. Karl was a beloved member of this community, and they thought, Gabriel's like, he's the last person
that would ever do this.
Right. Regardless, Gabriel knew the man needed immediate help. So he took him to the police station where a doctor was quickly rushed to his aid, to help Vincent's horrific injury. After the doctor stopped the bleeding and the wound was stitched up, the doctor told the police that Vincent's was definitely attacked. There was no other explanation. I mean, this isn't an accident.
Accidentally fall
on a hatchet. No, there's no other explanation. So the police are like, okay, we have to send out a couple constables to go pick up Karl to get his side of the story. And even though Karl was being brought in for questioning, nobody really believed, like I told you, he was capable.
Right.
Yeah, but the police knew something went down, and they were determined to get to the bottom of it.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy. So before I tell you further, I'm going to tell you a bit about Karl, because you got to know why he's so beloved and everything. He was born on August 12th, 1870, right outside a little mining village called Oberkunzendorf.
Okay.
Germany, which is really close to Poland's border.
Okay.
Karl's family was really well off, and they were very highly respected in that community because they were successful farmers. So that's how they gained their wealth, and everybody knew them because they were farmers. farmers, and probably everybody got their produce and whatever, maybe animals and things like that. Who knows? When Karl was 25, his father died, and the family farm was left to his older brother. His older brother gave Karl some of the inheritance money, so he could kind of start a life for himself.
While he took over the farm.
Yeah, while he took over the farm. So Karl used that cash and he bought a small farm of his own in his hometown. However, even though farming was his family's thing, it was definitely not Karl's. He failed to make any sort of profit from the farm.
I wouldn't do so well either.
Yeah, me neither. I would be a really bad farmer. So he eventually sold it. And with the money, he bought a 2-story home in a nearby town called Munsterburg.
Munsterburg. Okay.
And Karl seemed to fry. I mean, excuse me, not fry. Freudian slip.
That's later in the story.
Karl seemed to thrive in Munsterburg. He opened a shop that was next door to his home where he sold food and other daily essentials. And so that's how everybody in the community got to know him. He also played an organ for the congregation at his evangelical church. Sorry, I tripped over that. Every Sunday morning. He never drank. He didn't chase after women. And
he was an upstanding citizen.
Yeah, he just seemed, just a nice guy. He loved children in the neighborhood, and kids grew fond of him. Don't worry, he wasn't a weirdo with kids.
I was just like, what does that mean? He loves children.
Yeah, he just was, kind.
Okay, he was kind.
He was
All
kind.
right.
And no one really had a bad word to say about him. After the end of World War I, and, Germany fell under a huge depression because they weren't successful. And so due to the depression, Karl's shop went under. And in 1921, he was forced to sell this 2-story house that he had bought due to just being in financial straits. The people who bought his 2-story house decided they were going to divide the house into smaller apartments to rent out. And they allowed Karl
to have one of the apartments.
Yeah, to allow him to stay in this house, and he rented one of the apartments. Obviously, Karl needed a way to have money coming in, so he decided to apply for a vendor's license with the local police, and he was granted one, to be able to sell stuff.
Okay.
Because he didn't have that shop anymore because it closed.
But he still wanted to sell things.
Yeah, he still wanted to sell things. Karl worked during the week going door to door, selling goods, and he sold everything from shoelaces, belts, homemade soap, trinkets, suspenders. And once a week, Karl would make his way into a nearby town to set up kind of like a stand where he sold. Yeah,
a little shop.
A little shop.
Too.
Yeah, kind of like a little kiosk is what I'm picturing. And since the goods he had only made him so much money, he ended up adding, because I'm telling you, it's like shoelaces and soap and
small stuff.
Yeah, small stuff. He ended up adding to his inventory jars of pickled pork, and he would sell that.
Pickled pork.
Yeah, and this pickled pork ended up being his biggest moneymaker.
That's a big hit. Pickled pork.
And I'm thinking probably so.
Why am I salivating right now?
I don't know. Please don't.
Anything pickled, I get it.
I know.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And because of this depression Germany was in and the war, there's a lot of farms that failed, and there was a food shortage. So that's why this was so successful. Karl knew he needed to go even further with his license and his business. So he applied to the Butchers Guild located in Warsaw, Poland, so he could obtain a license to sell his meat there, go over the border. And
why am I getting nervous about him?
You should be getting nervous because this is crazy. And getting this license was a huge deal for Karl, and he knew he could make some decent money. If this license granted, he could really rake it in, I guess.
Being a butcher, but he needs some meat to butcher.
Yeah, he needs some meat, right? Karl had some luck. He ended up expanding his little meat market to, more than just his community. He's going into Poland. Okay. So he's
doing well now.
He's doing well. So I'm giving you a little bit of this background.
He's not frying. He's thriving.
He's not frying. He's thriving. Exactly. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, Karl is brought in for questioning for this attack on Vincens. So
and how old is he at this time?
He's older. He's probably about maybe 40 or 50. I'm thinking.
He's a baby.
I know, he's just a baby, but back
Chilling.
then I'm thinking, people really didn't live into old age. Maybe they did. I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't do it.
I'm thinking of a feeble man.
No, he's not feeble. He explains to the police that he offered a room in his apartment to Vincens, who needed a place to stay for a few days. He then went on to say, actually, Vincent's the one that attacked me.
I knew that was coming.
He was
Self-defense.
He was attempting to burglarize my apartment, and I was just...
What are you going to do? You got to take a hatchet.
Exactly. I was just trying to defend myself. This axe was the first thing that I could grab and, to fend him off. So obviously now we have two very contradictory stories that are being told. So in order, obviously, to get to the bottom of all this bullshit, the police now have to do like a full-on investigation. During the investigation, Karl was kept in a holding cell. And around 11:30 p.m. later that night, the day he went in for questioning, one of the night officers went to see if Karl needed anything. And to their shock, Karl had hanged himself in the cell.
A sign of
something's going on.
Guilt going on.
And there's conflicting reports. He either used an oversized handkerchief that he always carried with him, or he used shoelaces. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter, but just giving you a picture. But now everybody's like, why did he hang himself?
I could think of a reason.
I'm going to tell you too. Mm-hmm. Everyone was just so confused. Like, what
is going on?
Why would this man,
Right.
I mean, seemingly he was defending himself. Like,
why would he kill himself?
This investigation now gets crazy.
All shades of fucked up.
Yep. The following day, Karl's immediate family was notified of his death, and his remains were turned over to the local mortician so he could be buried. Trying to get to the bottom of exactly what was going on, the police began their investigation now into why Karl committed suicide. And so they're like, instead of it now being this attack, now we have to go back a few steps again. And so they began searching his home.
Oh, shit.
And they got a warrant, and this began on Christmas Eve.
You're going to tell me what they found,
Oh,
aren't you?
girl, you're not. You're going to just be flabbergasted.
Oh, shit.
And they did this before releasing the apartment to his family. They searched and searched for anything that could explain why. When police walked into his apartment, the thing that caught their immediate attention was the stench of sour vinegar. So in this part of the world, vinegar obviously was used.
Sauerkraut.
Yeah, sauerkraut. And I told you about this pickled pork. So it really wasn't bothersome to the police. Everyone knew that his biggest seller was this, boneless pork that he sold.
Okay.
And the smell on this particular day was coming from two large pots that were specifically used for pickling. And the pots were filled with meat and brine, and they were located in the corner of the kitchen. Close to the large pickling pots were shelves, and the shelves were stocked with jars filled with his famous pickled meats, all ready to be sold.
I already know where you're going with all of this.
I'm sorry. I know it's pretty horrific.
Jeez.
According to some reports, there was still some fresh pork left in the icebox as well. The meats in the icebox were thought to be Karl's personal food, maybe that he ate and would serve to any guests that he had. Chemicals were also found along with equipment that Karl used to make soap and leather belts and, the freshly made goods that he also sold along with his jars of meat. Initially, everything seemed to be up and up, according to the police. That was until they came upon a pile of bones.
Bones. Where was this?
Well, they were in his house, and they just weren't any run-of-the-mill pig bones. They appeared to be human bones.
He's got a pile of bones in his house.
In his house.
It's apartment.
Yes, and some of the bones still had flesh on them.
Oh, stop.
The bones that still had flesh on them were found in vats or like wooden drums of brine, so salt solution.
Okay.
And that's very common among butchers when you're preserving meat. It keeps bacteria from forming.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Meats, it also takes the water out when you're preserving.
So many positive things.
Yeah,
Great.
They found a total of 15 pieces of human flesh in these wooden drums with the bones still attached. And they even had skin Still on some of them. 2 pieces. So now I'm going to tell you what they found.
That's why he killed himself. He knew.
Yeah, he knew they were going to find it, right?
Mm-hmm. He was screwed.
Yeah, he was screwed. He knew it was in his apartment. 2 pieces of what they found appeared to be male pectoral muscles. And what told the police that they were male was that the skin still had like chest hair on it. There was a torso found that was cut through the middle, about 2.5 inches above the belly button. A shoulder blade was found along with another piece of abdominal wall. In the middle of the piece of this abdominal wall was a belly button.
Oh my. Okay. All right.
I mean, this is just like horrific. I mean, can you imagine stumbling upon this? You're thinking, this nice man in the community, you go into his house and you're like, what the hell?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Gosh. God, Tanya.
I can't even imagine.
Chest hair and a belly button. Come on, you got to warn me in advance.
I told you this was bad.
Yeah, but you didn't tell me. Okay.
I told you Ed Gein.
Yeah.
I mean, it knew it was bad, right?
Okay.
Don't act like you were never warned.
It's for not being mentally prepared. Okay, I got this.
The largest piece of human flesh found still intact was about 15 inches by 8 inches. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's a big piece. And it seemed to be like a part of a leg with like buttocks. Yeah. And Karl's victim were both men and women, they came to find. The meat in the wooden drums appeared to be a brownish red color. And this told the medical examiner on scene that the victims didn't lose too much blood during the dismemberment process. So they were already dead. Yeah, they were thinking they were already dead. Not that it makes it any, but at least it didn't happen while they were alive.
Yeah, that would be.
On the back of the pieces of human flesh, a blue discoloration was very visible, the livor mortis or the lividity. Yeah. So that was showing. And this helped investigators determine usually if a body's moved after death.
Yeah.
In this case, yeah. The blood pooled and the bodies were dismembered after a few hours, from when they were murdered. And it's not really known what exactly Karl used to dismember his victims, but they did find several instruments like saws and things like that.
Whatever butchers use, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Skin and muscles from the necks were removed and missing, and so were arms, legs, heads, and reproductive organs.
What?
Like they didn't find those things.
So did he take out the organs because okay, never mind. I'm not even asking questions. Go ahead. 3 medium-sized pots were found with a cream-like sauce and human flesh partially cooked. A cream-like sauce? What the fuck, Tanya?
I know. A
cream-like sauce? Yeah, are you making this up?
No, I am not making this up. This is fucking horrific.
What is this?
I don't think it was Alfredo sauce, but
this wasn't from stewing the meat. He was making a sauce.
Yes, and cooking the flesh.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And the meat inside the pots were pink and soft to the touch. All the pieces in the pots appeared to be cuts from, apparently buttock region. I don't know. Yeah. It reminds me of that Albert Fish episode you did where he said that one child, he killed that one child and wrote the mother a letter and said, the buttocks were, the most tender or something.
If you think about meat when you go to the store, you're often eating...
I'm just saying.
If you're eating meat.
Yeah, so
okay.
I'm
Can we just go?
I know.
We just go.
One pot had less than the other 2, and it's believed that Karl had eaten from that pot right before he was arrested.
Okay.
According to other reports, I know this is
horrible.
This is one of the most disgusting things I've ever.
Well, we've had
a lot of disgusting things, but this is just what the fuck. According to other reports, Karl may have given this meat to one of his guests, but it has seemed to appear to the police that he killed all his guests, and that's who these people were.
Oh,
yeah.
And then what did he pickle them up? And
yes, he pickled them up. He cooked them, and sold them. Along with the pile of human bones, the police also located a dish that contained 240 human teeth.
Oh. He's collecting the teeth?
Yes. Each adult human, you have about 32 teeth.
Yeah.
So,
some of us
and
have
that
less.
includes wisdom teeth. So when they get this dish of teeth, they're like, oh no.
Why would he not get rid of that?
I don't know.
He's not even trying to hide the
officers
evidence.
were just disgusted.
Well, yeah.
You know, what the fuck?
Hell? What the hell?
Yeah. The next room they searched was Karl's bedroom.
Oh,
and
God, don't be gross.
This just was another level of fucked up. Okay, you're going to just...
Oh, my Lord. If Tanya's giving a warning.
Yeah.
Okay.
His bedroom wall was covered in dozens and dozens of pair of suspenders and belts that he had crafted himself. Mm-hmm. He told the community that the leather was from pigskin, but unfortunately, this was not the case. The countless belts and pairs of suspenders hanging in his bedroom were...
Don't say it.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm going to say. They were made from human skin.
What the fuck?
I know. The closet told another horror story. It was filled with clothing, but all the pieces of his wardrobe were just covered in blood. Like, these were Karl's own clothing.
He didn't wash his clothes?
Didn't wash his clothes. Okay. I don't know. A bowl found in his bedroom had orange brown colored fat. And that liquid was also human. I'm thinking this is maybe what he made the soap out of. I don't know. Like, you need fat for soap.
Back in the day. Yep.
Yeah, and remember I told you Karl sold shoelaces.
Oh, what can you possibly say about shoelaces?
The shoelaces were also made out of human skin.
Skin?
Yeah, and they were braided into laces with human hair.
What?
I know, like, you don't notice this when you buy shoelaces?
They're shoelaces. I don't know.
You don't notice it's hair? I mean, I would think I would notice.
I never bought shoelaces with hair. I don't know what I would notice, but
like,
maybe
I'm just
back in
like,
the day, I don't.
What? I mean, I'm thinking of cotton shoelaces. But anyway.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, so.
Oh.
I just can't even imagine the police officers that walked into this just fucking house of horrors. And you're just like, what the hell?
What the fuck?
Yeah, big time. Like.
Bro, I quit. I mean, wow. Yeah. Wow. I didn't even know you could. Okay.
And so now it's dawning on these police officers that here he was, he's killing people, he's skinning them, he's, dismembering them. And even though, this is desperate times in Germany and Poland, he's going around with this pickled meat and selling it to fucking everybody. And they're just like, oh my God. And you think that they would now, it's coming together. You would think back like, oh, he really didn't have any pigs at his apartment. Like, where did he get
That's what I said. Where is he getting the meat?
Where's he getting the meat? Well, now, he made a fortune off of people he killed.
I really feel nauseous.
It's fucking disgusting. Oh, Karl also had a shed. And
how do you have a shed? He has an apartment.
I know. And I'm thinking that maybe because this house used to be his, that maybe
they let him have the shed.
Yeah, they let him have the shed. So you can imagine what was in this shed after I just told you what was all in the apartment.
But you're going to tell me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What?
There were more bones found in the shed, and there were barrels filled with human bones.
How many bones?
Oh, I don't even know. I'll tell you later how many people they think he were suspected of, but
wow.
And these were clean bones.
They're old.
They're the old ones. They're from the people that he killed earlier. And so I'm thinking, that's where he would move them after he was done with,
whatever he
taking
did,
the flesh and whatever.
He did.
He had created a man-made pond for himself.
What?
Also.
He created a man-made pond. Okay. All right.
In the yard. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. And he used that to dispose of human remains, but they ended up finding some human remains. Like, he didn't do a very good job of disposing of them. Like, they found a leg in there.
Leg?
Yeah. And there was also a forest nearby, and he tried to dispose of remains there, but they also found...
smell all this shit?
I know, that's what I'm thinking, right?
This has been going on a long time.
It's been going on for years.
Man.
In the woods, they found like spine bones and pelvis bones.
Why isn't he keeping it at least all together? Putting it all in the shed. Why you're taking more risks when you have it all over?
I know, you're spreading it out, like, instead of keeping it contained and under lock and key.
Maybe it's just through the years, his, everything changed.
Maybe just got a little crazy too. I don't know. I've heard, I have not done it, but it hasn't it been studied? Like, if you eat human flesh, like, it does something to your brain and kind of like.
I think if it's cooked, it's just meat.
Really? I don't know.
I don't know.
I thought I heard that.
I'm not a trained professional.
I don't know either. I'm like,
I don't know. I'm just a lawyer. I'll look that up. We'll Google that.
On the pelvic bones that they found jagged cuts, which told the police that he tried to use saws to dismember his victims. And out of all the people that went through his home, they only found one piece of a skull. So God only knows what he did with those. And that was a piece of a sinus bone. So it appeared that Karl was able to cut up that piece with a saw, since like that piece of sinus bone, since there was also a jagged cut on that. I don't know where the other skulls were. I have no idea. The bones that they found in the woods seemed to have belonged to at least 3 victims. And that they seemed that they were very strong. Like they weren't like a delicate bone structure. So I'm thinking maybe that they were men.
Men?
Yeah.
Okay.
So many bones were found. I'm going to tell you, there was just like every bone you can possibly think of in your body, like femurs. There was finger, like phalanges, toes, clavicles. I mean, I'm not even going to go. I'm not even like, there's whole like articles you can read that tell you like the number of femur bones they found and wrist bones, and it was crazy. But it's
a lot. There were a lot of bones.
Some of them were shattered and broken. Maybe they had been crushed with like a hammer. I don't know if he was doing that, like either with a hammer, or like the blunt side of an axe. So I don't know if he was doing that to try to break up the bones into smaller pieces.
Them or something.
Yeah, to pulverize them. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously he wasn't around to ask. Other bones seemed to have been cut with a knife or chopped with an axe. Based on what was found, they found about 8 victims in the pond in the forest altogether.
Even the barrels?
They had, that's not even counting the barrels.
That's not counting
That's
the
just the
barrels.
pond in the forest. Even more bones were located after the end of World War II in the late 40s.
Where? What do you mean they found more?
Yeah,
this property around there?
Property around there, yeah. He just had quite the collection. A total, remember I told you that one bowl or whatever had 240 teeth, but a total of 351 teeth were discovered. And he kept a majority of them in that dish I told you about, which is just fucking weird. And the teeth
Did he not have normal friends come over? Because how do you explain this stuff?
No.
Hey, Tanya, ignore the dish of teeth.
I know, that's what I'm thinking.
And the
no.
stench of death and the pickled stuff.
Like people just
Did
walked.
he not have friends? Nobody.
I know. Nobody came to his apartment?
I don't know.
I guess not. Through the count of the teeth, the police thought that they were at least 20 victims, but maybe closer to 25, just based on the number of teeth.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's believed that the total number of victims were close to about 40, but nobody will know for sure. I mean, that's just based on what they found. Where is all the stuff maybe they didn't find?
Right.
Gross. And from what they found, okay, not that this can make you feel any better, but they only found adult bones. So they did not find any children's bones. So it doesn't appear that he harmed any children. But they did find teeth from a younger victim. I'm thinking maybe like an adolescent. Who knows? But no children. A good percentage of his victims were adults, and some appeared to be much older. So even like older, maybe senior citizens. Do
we know the victims? Do we know who they are?
No, and I'm thinking these were all people like it was near. Where he lived was near, I believe, either a train station. I think it was a train station. So people were just passing through. And I believe, like you said, it was like an Airbnb. Like he would help people like, oh, I have a place to stay. And because he was well known in the community, nobody really thought anything about it. And
they're probably just getting a place to stay for a little bit. And there's no cell phones.
Right. And people are just passing through. Right. If I'm traveling through this town that, you don't, like you said, there's no cell phones. There's really no way to track them. So people just disappear and there's no record of them. But he did keep a record, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. The accessories that Karl made from his victims were sent out for testing. The suspenders were strictly human skin.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Each pair was about 2.5 inches wide and 27.5 inches long. I
don't even know the amount of time it would take to take and make suspenders from human skin.
Tell me about it, right?
From a body. I can't. This is all he did.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have a girlfriend, right? Didn't have a wife. Yeah,
didn't have kids. No.
He had nothing else going on.
Yeah. And
it's a hobby.
Human leather, I guess this human leather didn't feel smooth like regular leather. It didn't appear that he tanned it. So I don't know if he just dried it out.
I don't even know what it means to tan.
I don't know.
What does it mean to tan leather?
Tan it? I think you have to
it's fine.
Process it I've seen it on TV. I can't remember, but you have to not touch it. You're using an instrument to make it more supple.
So he didn't even do it properly.
At one spot on one of the suspenders, it was obvious that the cuts were made from under the nipple of his victim. Four pairs were found that they were patched or spliced together with human skin that was taken from pubic areas. He was even wearing a pair of his suspenders that he made when he hung himself.
Stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Gross fucker.
I know. He cut leather straps out of human skin and he treated those with shoe polish. They were found to have pieces of non-human fabric and cloth sewn into them. And as I mentioned, these shoelaces he made. One particular pair of shoelaces was gray and white, so his victim was elderly. And many of the laces' origins couldn't be determined, but that just means that the hair could have been taken from elsewhere on the human body, depending on the length of the hair.
Many places. Okay, never mind.
No one, we kind of talked about this, no one really questioned where this pickled pork came from, and this realization that, holy shit, he was selling this meat to his neighbors.
God.
Yeah, it's
all those poor neighbors.
And I mean, this splashed in the newspapers. You can only imagine when people were like,
oh Lord.
On the windowsill and a table in Carl's bedroom, there was a nice little neat stack of papers. They were documents that Carl kept as records and a history of everyone that he took in. These records went for the entire 3 years that he murdered. Skinned in.
So this was only over 3 years.
Over 3 years. Okay. It was from 1921 to 1924. In the ledger,
he's
prolific.
Thank you.
In this ledger, it had details of 31 victims. And the notes on the documents listed the names of each victim, the date that he murdered them, how many pounds of meat he was able to get from them.
Stop it.
Yeah. Along with these papers were personal documents and identification papers for 12 of his victims. I'm thinking maybe a passport or something.
Or birth certificate or something.
He also kept newspaper clippings that listed names of people who were about to be released from nearby hospitals or prisons, because maybe he preyed on those too, I'm thinking. He knew that around town, he was the go-to person. If anyone needed a place to stay.
You go see Carl.
So, he would show up and be like, hey, you can come and stay with me. He had quite the collection of various coins. I'm thinking he probably stole them from his victims. The various tools that were thought to be used, I told you they weren't sure exactly what he used, but like I said, they found a large saw. They used a wood. There was a wood chopping saw, and then there's another type of saw that cuts down a tree, and then a pickaxe, knives, axes. They were all sent out to see if they had traces of human blood, and they did. They all had positive. They were all positive for human blood.
Of course. Wow.
Then the police were like, okay, we have to send a jar of the pickled meat.
Stop it.
We have to know. I mean, they did.
They know.
Yeah, to no one's surprise.
Oh, no.
All of the jars.
No.
In the kitchen were human. All of them. So, yeah.
Oh, my fucking God.
And pickled meat is a traditional meat that's served on New Year's dinner. So, yeah.
Every jar.
Every jar. How horrific.
So horrible.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. He's selling them to people and they're eating. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
I wonder if they thought it tasted different. It sounds horrible to say, but.
I know. Well, it's pickled. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want to know.
I don't know. I
don't know. But yeah, that's a thought. So.
Wow. What else you got for me, Tanya?
When the story broke, obviously the press had a field day. The local paper, I mean, coincidentally, it was called Journal Frankenstein. I mean, not that Frankenstein was a cannibal or he dismembered people, but yeah, it went in really hard with the details. They left nothing out. I mean, I'm sure people were horrified.
Well, yeah.
To read.
I'm horrified.
To read, yeah. So Karl was eventually nicknamed the Cannibal of Munsterburg.
Never heard of him.
I know, right? I never heard of him either. The police took all of the documents that were discovered in his apartment, and they were able to identify at least 20 victims, which was about 2/3 of the names listed. Like, they tracked down family and things like that.
Man, you imagine those families.
Yeah. A lot of German history reports and documentation was lost in the bombing during the wars. Yeah. But there's a small museum in Ziebis, Poland, and they displayed some of the stuff that was found in Karl's apartment, like some of the vats, jars, knives, and other pieces of his equipment. They did that in 1999.
Does it sound wrong that I would want to see that?
I know. I just want to be horrified by it. I mean, I've been to the the Museum of Death in Los Angeles. Like, I know it's bad, but I'm like fascinated. I'm always fascinated at all the fucked up shit people do.
I know. I prefer that veil that makes it not so real, not seeing it.
In a nice little museum. And, you see a knife in a museum. It's not like you're going to the house and finding people's bones. Yeah. So.
Poor cops.
Yeah.
Poor family.
And I think about poor Vincens. I mean, not poor Vincens. He actually survived.
Thank God. But can you imagine what he thought? He would have been pickled.
I know. And if he hadn't gotten out, like, how much longer would this have gone on?
Oh, yeah.
And how many more people would have died?
Yeah.
He definitely saved people by getting the hell out of Karl's home and being able to bring attention to what happened. So, yeah. Isn't that a crazy story?
Yeah, it's a crazy story.
I know. I was
just... You told me it was messed up.
I told you it was messed up. Man. It's super messed up. Like, and I never heard of this guy.
No. Like, now we're going to be pickled anything now.
I know, and you love pickled stuff. Just don't eat any pickled meat.
No, I don't.
You're good. Just pickled vegetables.
I don't eat pickled meat anyway.
Yeah, no, me neither.
I've never trusted it.
Yeah.
Now I know why.
Well, now you know why. You had that little voice in your head was like, don't eat
trust it.
Don't do it.
That's horrible.
I know. This is just an awful story. I mean, it affected so many people, like, not even like the people in the community knowing that this beloved person.
There's so many people. Yeah.
But like the victims and their families,
like the people that ate the meat.
Yeah. Like to know, like, my loved one, like, I don't even have like anything I can possibly bury. Like, my husband or my loved one ended up in a jar.
God.
It's horrific.
So cruel.
Yeah, it's extremely
cruel.
Well,
if he did the world a favor.
I guess.
Well,
yeah.
Hanging himself.
Yeah. At least, they didn't have to put him on trial and
then all that
hullabaloo.
He would have just been hanged anyway.
Yeah, he would have been hanged anyway. Definitely. He would have definitely been convicted. I mean, what was he going to say? That's not mine. Oh, yeah. You got a pair on. You got the suspenders on. Like, come on. That's just.
Wasn't me.
No, but anyway.
You'd be amazed how many times they say,
Wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
Yeah.
I don't know how they got pickled in my house.
The 400 jars. I mean, I don't know how many there were, but.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, you want to
wrap it up? Yes.
It's lunchtime.
It's lunchtime.
Unfortunately. No, it's not a joke.
No, I know. I'm like, my appetite is no longer.
Thank you for ruining that.
You're welcome. It's a diet plan. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And thank you to Leah for listening to this horrific story. Thank you for listening either on your podcast app or watching us on YouTube on the True Crime Daily YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. If you would like to hit the subscribe/follow/like button on whatever you're watching us on, that would be great. If you'd like more episodes, you can go to patreon.com/TNT Crimes, where we have episodes you can pay for. We release one new episode a week. In addition to these, in addition to these episodes, and if you also become a Patreon member, you get these episodes ad-free and early release.
We have 1,000,000,000 episodes that haven't been released to the public.
So if you're interested, you could also subscribe through your Apple app if you're so inclined. And our website is crimesandconsequences.com. You can check that out. There's also merch on our website. So if you would like to support us that way, that would be great. And
yeah, and if you go to the patreon.com/TNT Crimes, you're going to find it's a little bit different. We are a little more
grittier
might
be a good word. Yeah.
I mean, we have a TV persona.
Yeah.
And then we have
our real selves. Yes. That you only get.
She's got a potty mouth from hell. Trust me.
So I said some bad words in this episode because it's just disgusting.
I've seen you on fire. So.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not me on fire yet.
No.
Anyway, until our next episode.
Don't kill each other.
Bye.
Bye.